I'm going to tell you the 3 enemies that are holding you back from jumping to the next revenue tier in your business. Be that going from 4 figures to 5, 5 to 6, 6 to 7. Honey, these things play out even if we're going 7 to 8 and 8 to 9. In fact, they're even more sneaky, powerful enemies at that level. And as you dive into this with me, you're going to see why. But here's the scary thing. You are probably not going to want to hear any of this. But if you are open, honest, and willing, what you have to gain could be more empowering and useful than you'll ever imagine. Hi, I'm Laura, by the way. I'm a business coach, 8-figure direct response copywriter, and grower of 3 successful direct response brands. And when I began coaching, my clients sought me out looking for strategies and tactics on marketing, particularly direct response marketing. They, like I, thought that these would be the most leverageable things for them to use in their business in order to get to that next level. But what I quickly discovered in working with them was that it often was not a lack or a misunderstanding of marketing strategies that was holding them back. It was the shit that they were doing in their own businesses, stuff that even bled through into their day-to-day lives. And it's some of those mistakes that I'm going to share with you today in hopes that you can begin to reorient your behaviors and your emotional responses to all of the stimuli that's going on around you so that you can be more effective and jump to that next revenue tier. The first enemy that is holding you back from hitting your next revenue tier is you, by which I specifically mean your way of being. Way of being is a philosophical term that embodies many, many things about you. But for our purposes, I want you to start looking at 1, your language, the said, the words that come out your mouth, and the unsaid, your inner dialogues, your stories, your interpretations of events, and excuse making and blame. I was coaching with a 7-figure business owner who was telling me about a launch that went wrong. I asked him to speak some more about that. He quickly said, my team should have prepared X, Y, and Z. This makes the hair on my arms stand up. Your team should have. How interesting. So this CEO feels that they did everything that they needed to do. Guess what? If you're a leader, it's possible that your team made a mistake, but you definitely did. You need to be able to take that ownership, analyze where you could have done something differently, or quite simply, you're learning the lesson now. Take the lesson in, build a strategy, build a system to insulate yourself so that whatever mistakes were made do not get repeated again. But putting the onus on the team, putting the onus on your clients and saying, my client did not do X, Y, and Z, that's not a very empowered position to be in, right? Because then it's entirely on that other party to fix it. I would much rather have everything that goes wrong in my business be my fault, because then I am the one with the power to fix it. So we can reorient this definition and the connotation of fault into power. That's step 1 to leveling you up. Stop it, Laura. Stop it. Another mistake that we so often fall into is using dichotomous thinking, which means all or nothing, black or white, one or the other. One of my coaching clients, for example, I advised her to start sharing more on social media in order to create inbound pipes and a lead flow to her. She turned around a few days later and told me, well, Laura, I talked about that to this other guy, and that guy said I should be reaching out to all of my old clients. To which I quickly said, you can do both. It is not a one or the other proposition. And in fact, we can dig a little bit deeper into this client's way of being. She takes one piece of advice and then gets it workshopped by another party. What does that indicate to me? She is looking for the answer. She wants somebody to tell her exactly what to do. What I find is when you are so desperately seeking the answer, you might be using that as a buffer against actually taking action, right? And you might be using that, should something go wrong, you're able to turn around and have somebody to blame. Somebody to say, oh, that didn't work because they told me exactly what to do. The fact of the matter is There are infinite ways to get clients. There are infinite ways to do marketing. There are infinite ways to grow a brand, build a culture. There are infinite ways to do anything. You should just start fucking doing them, most importantly. There are infinite ways for you to take action towards and to do anything. So begin choosing some and begin doing some versus getting every potential strategy workshopped in order to figure out what the best one is before you've even tried it. How is that possible? You will never know what the right strategy is for you until you start trying it. But this desire to have a 100% clear-cut answer before any action taking occurs is gonna hold you back. As you begin to make the shift from dichotomous to more spectrum-based thinking, you can also get a little bit more ninja with it by assigning probabilities to potential outcomes. We call this probabilistic thinking. And a simple way to begin to understand probabilistic thinking works like this. Say you're in a social situation and you're reflecting on it after the fact. This is a very human, normal thing to do, right? We look back on our encounters in groups or our encounters with other people and we think, oh, did I say something awkward? Or perhaps I could have said something in this different way. Is everybody thinking I'm a weirdo now? And we can get so wrapped up and mired in these feelings and in these questions, this rumination, that we don't even notice it happening, right? It takes over us. So your first thing to do is to check this is going on and be like, whoa, I am in my head and I am very deeply analyzing this situation. Okay, step one. Step two, realizing in a social situation like that, people are so often thinking of themselves and they're not paying nearly as much attention to you as you are paying to yourself. Here's the third thing, and here's where we can get probabilistic, right? Like, given all of that, what is the actual probability that anybody thinks you're a weirdo? Oh, like maybe 2%, 3%. Now that we can cast such a low probability on that, we can move on and stop ruminating and then move on to the more useful shit that we need to be doing every day. Helps me a lot. I do it all the time. I do that all the time. So as you evaluate a potential marketing campaign, for example, we can break down your options and assign probabilities to which one may be the most effective for you, given your unique brand, your offerings, your positioning, and everything else that makes you and your organization uniquely you and your organization. So versus feeling overwhelmed or like, well, this person told me I need to get on TikTok, so I need to go get on TikTok, we can write them all out and say, well, given the fact that you like to create fun short form content, given the fact that your target audience hangs out on TikTok, yeah, there's a 90% probability there that that's the most effective channel for you. This is a much more empowered, holistic way to make decisions versus being at the mercy of all the different directions that you're getting pulled in. And when you evaluate your decision making in this way, you get such a better sense of the full lay of the land, and you're able to stay more committed because you understand, given my analysis, I know that this is a useful path for me with a high probability of being effective right now. Now, notice I'm talking about probabilities and numbers here, but this is still not hard science, right? We're not doing a math equation to assign these probabilities to things. We are compiling as much data as we possibly can, and then we're using a little bit of our own creativity and intuition to assign the probability. I make this point to hopefully get you feeling comfortable thinking with some numbers and assigning some probability to stuff. This is not hard rocket science, nuclear physics type of math, but the better you compile your data, the better you'll be able to be at assigning these probabilities, and the more practice you have with it, the more empowered you're going to become. A huge enemy that is holding you back from jumping to your next revenue tier is disclarity on what you really want. This often takes the form of negotiating with yourself. So if you're in these business communities and these entrepreneur communities, you're going to meetups, you're going to masterminds, it becomes very common for you to feel like, I gotta catch up. I want millions and millions of dollars. This person's doing that. This person's doing that. Why aren't I doing that? Why am I not doing this? If you can take a step back and a breath, you might be able to realize not a very powerful position for you to be in. There's so many people, when you get into communities like this, you'll turn around and feel like, yeah, I want to do $10 million this year. But if you actually gut check, you might be like, well, I could be very, very happy with a mid six-figure operation with just one virtual assistant, and I work 20 to 30 hours a week. That's beautiful. That's solvable. It's actually quite simple. But if you're wrapped up in the, well, I feel like I need to go after all of this and get everything, is it any wonder that mistakes keep being made, you keep hitting ceilings, and you keep feeling frustrated? No, it's no wonder at all. Versus having a much better sense of clarity on, I want my company to do $300,000 this year. I want that to be a byproduct of providing value to 3,000 people. Look at how much more solvable the equation gets. Look at how much more clear you are. Now you're able to build the roadmap to get to that North Star. The next mistake you might be making in terms of your way of being is operating from your past. So if you're like my client who had the flopped launch and now you want to make up for that, are you really playing with your full power? Are you moving towards the future that you really want for yourself, for your business, and for your organization, right? So you might feel the need to catch up, to rush, to be overly aggressive, to not properly plan. And it's a bit more of a get wrecked strategy versus, okay, we had a flopped launch. We're going to learn the lesson. We're still going to move towards our future and not be reactionary about our past. And I have a free business tool for you that you can use to determine the next best action step for you to take to move towards that future, to get that win in your business as quickly as 24 hours from now. Go check out that free tool at bizwintoday.com.
How does the tool work?
So I give you prompts. Who could you reach out to? Like, what would you say? Or like, what could you put online? Like all these. And then you got to go ahead and do it. Then my email sequence that follows is like, did you do it? Did you do it? Did you do it? Mm-hmm. No? Did you do it? Mm-hmm. Still no, huh? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. It's cool. It's really useful. People, they get results from it because it just makes them fucking do something, you know? Right. The last powerful enemy that has been holding you back from leaping into the next revenue tier of your business is probably the sneakiest, most damaging one out of all of them. It might encompass all the rest, and that is shifting into a fixed mindset. Not fixed in your sense of resources or abundance necessarily, but fixed in your learning. If you have not learned the next appropriate skills or relationship building or whatever it may be for you to get you to that next level, what is going to happen? You're going to keep hitting the same ceiling and falling back to the same floor. For example, one of my clients says to me, Laura, I keep launching six-figure offers. I'm frustrated that none has gone to 7. What does that client of mine need to learn next? Team building, culture building, partnerships. That's some of the things that were specific for them to learn. But if you're not learning, right, and you're not getting that mentorship or that partnership that's going to take you out of the familiar and into the unknown, then you will stay in the familiar forever. You get very good at doing the things that you're very good at doing. That's all well and good, but you're going to keep getting the same outcomes from that. So I would encourage you to deeply think about what would be most powerful for you to learn next to get to that next level in your business. Maybe it's how to get VC funding. Maybe it's how to hire your first virtual assistant, right? Maybe it's how to build better relationships with people. Whatever it may be, make sure it is something exponential with the potential to get you exponential gains, okay? Not something easy for the sake of your ego, not something that's a 20, $50, even $500 an hour task, okay? Those are not what's gonna get you the exponential return on your learning. So don't learn video editing, right? Don't learn how to fix the copier. If you learn how to fix the copier, which is of course a metaphor, who has a copier, right? But if you learn how to fix the copywriter, don't even try that. That's just not gonna work. But if you learn how to fix the copier, then you will be the one fixing the copier. So you don't wanna learn that. You don't wanna learn something easy for the sake of your ego so you could check off a box. Another way to think about this is, what is something that you can spend a day, a week, a month learning that has the potential to change your business and change your life forever? Now, you may want me to be the one who sits here and tells you exactly what that thing you should learn is. But how could I possibly do that? I don't know you well enough to be able to give you that answer. And let's remember what we discussed before. Your desire to seek out that answer, that very specific answer, could be part of the problem. Instead, you need to use the big muscle and make that call for yourself. And rather than have it be one very specific thing, give yourself 3 potential things that you could learn that have a high probability of giving you that exponential growth that you're seeking. If you want to watch something really funny, check out one of my very old videos where I review Amazon Boss Babe business dresses.